Becky Meagher, and welcome to Transitions, Body, Mind, and Spirit. Transitions, we all have different transitions in our life, and I like to use the metaphor of triathlons, something I did 5 of this summer. Triathlon, first you're in the swim, and you're swimming, and then you get to the transition area, and you totally change and get on your bicycle. And then you bicycle, and then you totally change and run. And that is a metaphor for life. How do we change from one thing to another to another? And today I have a wonderful guest, Dr. Kirk Jones. Thank you for being here. He owns Bellevue Chiropractic and his sweetie pie, which is me, Becky Meagher. And we together did an amazing trip. We were volunteers with Earthwatch. You notice he has that on his shirt. And we went to an amazing place called Borneo. So let me demonstrate where we were. We started out in Nashville, Tennessee, and this was just in August, 6 weeks ago. And then we went through Los Angeles, went across the Pacific, went to Hong Kong, and then straight down past the Philippines to the equator. Bam, there we were in Borneo. And we were guests of scientists doing Earthwatch. We were doing a nonprofit expedition. So, Kirk, we were both there. Tell us about what we were doing at Earthwatch expedition in Borneo.
We actually went to a location in the rainforest where they were working with the soil. The soil conservation is what the project was about. So it was basically we were entering data. We would go out to the site where trees had been planted and they were reforesting the area, and we would measure the diameter of the stalk of the tree, one direction then the other. Then we'd measure the height of the tree and count the number of leaves on the tree. Another area, we had a level of a 11-foot aluminum level, and we would measure the soil heights every foot. And that goes on in the data that from when it was done a year ago or 2 years ago. At that same place, we would dig into the ground with a small piece of pipe and take 0 to 5 centimeters, 5 to 10 centimeters, 10 to 15 centimeters, and 15 to 20 centimeters deep of the soil. And they would then test that soil and get specific information from that. The one thing about it was so hot. We sweated every day. And my shirt, actually this is the shirt that I wore into the field, a long sleeve silk shirt, and it was completely, utterly soaked, completely water filled. It changed a little bit, the atmosphere would change, but during the daytime we would go out if it wasn't raining, and believe it or not, in a rainforest it only rained one day. And they had us working on the netting that was over the trees, protecting them from the sunlight. So we were sewing that together.
So basically, we went to an area that had previously been logged, and the scientists were trying to find out, if you go back and plant seedlings, how will these seedlings do? Can you do reforestation? And the data that we were going out into the rainforest, each little plant, seedling, had a number, and I learned that there was really quite a lot of tedium involved in being a scientist. We would, like you said, find the plant, count the leaves, and write down how is it progressing. And this study has been going on for a number of years, and we as volunteers with Earthwatch had 9 days to be out in the rainforest to help with this data.
That's right, and when we weren't in the rainforest, we were at the barracks. So they had a men's barracks and a women's barracks, And the women's barracks, fortunately, had screen and a door. The men's didn't have any screens or doors. We had a couple bats that were living underneath the wood platform that we slept on. But we had like bunk beds, and we had a wonderful screening, kind of like a, what's it called? It was a material, and we could tuck it underneath the mattress, and that would keep the bugs out.
The mosquito netting.
Yeah.
Right. So this is a place where you have mosquito netting to keep out the insects. It really wasn't really too bad, amazingly so, in the middle of the rainforest, which was surprising. But I learned that actually up in Canada, the mosquitoes were worse. And next time I go to Canada, I think I'm going to bring mosquito netting. But tell what it was like day to day. You get up and you have the breakfast of what?
Champions. No, actually they had some propane heaters, and there were three really wonderful women that came in from town, and they would cook. We had a whole stainless steel tray of fried eggs, probably 25 fried eggs in one thing. Then there were some people that were vegetarians, so we had a tofu dish with maybe some cabbage and potatoes and carrots maybe. And some days we had different things, which they brought in some ferns and they sauteed some ferns. We also had some fruit from around there. Papaya was very good. We had, what was the big fruit called that they had seeds in?
Dragon fruit or?
No, we didn't have dragon fruit there, but we had that at another place. I can't remember the name, but it's a big green fruit, and then they cut that up, and inside the seeds are covered with a sweet kind of mushy material. At lunch, we didn't have the eggs, but we had pretty much everything else. Chicken was a major entree, and we had chicken all 3 meals if we wanted it. So
right.
There was water that I got confused with. I thought the sink that was by the cafeteria area had sterile water in it, but it was water from the river. So I drank a couple quarts of river water. But they had a container that they'd boiled, and so that was the container we were supposed to get our water from.
Right. So in essence, what we wanted to convey is Earthwatch has different expeditions all over the world, and this is one that we chose to go to because friends of ours were going to be going, and they told us about this great place, Borneo, where there's wonderful birding and everything. So the preparation to go to some place like this, we went to the Vanderbilt Center for, what is it, for disease control or something? And then what all are the immunizations you had to have?
Yeah, I thought, I wasn't sure we were out probably 2 days from any hospital, so I got rabies. I needed a tetanus shot. I hadn't had one for a while. I got Hep A, Hep B. I got Japanese encephalitis, and I got malaria. Well, malaria, we didn't have shots. We took tablets for that. Mm-hmm. And then we got there, and it really didn't necessarily. It wasn't really required. I had a negative reaction to the vaccines. I had quite a fever, and it lasted for a little bit of time. But 3 weeks after I got the shots, my arm started to hurt. So it was why my body was responding that way to these shots, I wasn't sure. But what we did do, though, we also went to REI, and I asked them, I just thought in my mind, I need a collapsible liter bottle, and there it was. They were able to have a bottle like this that you could then take on the plane or have it in, and then it becomes a full water bottle. So you didn't have weight around. This is very lightweight. I also I've had this hat for a long time, but I'm sensitive to sun, so this is my sun hat that I would wear, and it really keeps the sun off me. And so it was nice, and it folds up really comfortably, and you can put it into a little bag. I also knew that I wanted to keep my phone charged, so I got a couple of solar charging phone chargers, and it does plug into the wall, but it also runs on solar power. I also went to REI and got shorts and pants. These guys are convertible. You want to take them, and you're in the hot area, and you want to take them off, they become shorts. So, and they have a certain waterproof nature to them, but they're very lightweight, and so you don't have heaviness. That's what I also got with the silk shirt. So we were able to prepare ourselves at REI, at Vanderbilt Medical Center, and just talking to other people. And it really was helpful to have almost everything we needed when we were there.
Right. And the other thing, when you're in the rainforest, the insect population or the leech population. So I wanted people to see what they supplied us with. These are called leech socks. And I'd never heard of them before. But a leech sock, what you do is you may have a regular sock, you put that on over your regular sock and then put your shoe on. And it's the idea that you tie this at the top, so when you're walking through, the leeches don't get down in your boot and drink your blood, so to speak. Now, the funny thing is that they gave us a 2-hour talk of all the dangers of the rainforest before we actually went to the rainforest, and it kind of gave you a frightening idea that you just don't willy-nilly when you're hiking reach out, because there's plants that have spikes like this that can go through your hand. But the leeches, surprisingly, I used to think they were just down in the water. They're just hanging out right shoulder level. So that's one reason why a lot of people like to wear long sleeves, and you have the leech socks too. So leeches, they look like little inchworms. So it was kind of interesting watching them. And I got just a couple on me, and the local people roll them to. So my fear of leeches is gone, because now I understand what they're like. But I watched one on Kirk, and he had it on his neck, and what they do, they release an anticoagulant, and so they continue to bleed and also anesthetize you, so you don't even know they're hanging on, bleeding you. And so even when you roll them and remove them, you're still bleeding, you're bleeding. But it was funny to see people bleeding and there's nothing on them, but it's happening. So it was just a kind of fun little side note. The other thing, when you go on an Earthwatch expedition, you're with scientists. So we not only had the scientist that was in charge of the replanting of the logged areas, but also there was a scientist who was studying dung beetles. And he talked about something I never knew anything about. Dung beetles, they drink the moisture from the dung, whether it be an elephant or what have you, and it's actually a public service that takes care of the excrement all over the jungle area. And if you have a lot of dung beetles, that's a good thing, actually, something I didn't know. And we actually had them, he had one, and you could have them crawl on you, and they bury you in your hand. It was just, it's kind of up close and personal. And was there any other aspects of scientists that you want to bring up?
Well, we had a lecture almost every night, and it was nice. One man, the dung beetle scientist, had a drone, and he showed us the location of a elephant. They had pygmy elephants in Borneo, and he was able. We were able to see on the screen where the elephant was. So he could use that drone to identify different wildlife in the area and then find the dung, the fresh dung.
Right, right. So basically we had 9 days with the Earthwatch people, and then after that we got to go on our own to other parts of Borneo, which was not necessarily, it was not that the being with the dung beetles and everything and sweating was not fun, but it was even more joyous when we were able to leave the logging camp and explore other parts of Borneo. So our first part, after we left, you go into a place called Kota Kinabalu, which is a big city, and then we flew into where Sipalak, where they have a pretty famous rehab place for orangutans. And then also, and we're going to be showing you while we're speaking of pictures, there's also something called the sun bears, which is the smallest bears in the world. And the sun bears have a facility also where they're a species that their habitat is getting smaller and smaller because of the logging, and also they replace the forest with palm trees for palm oil. So the sun bears are about the size of a large German shepherd, and they were really fun to see in the rehab area, which I didn't even know they existed.
Right. There were also, when you're going to Borneo, you want to think of water. We didn't have as much water in the rainforest as we expected, but as you might see, my shoes are two different ones. One's a hiking boot, and the other is a water shoe, and they were both very useful. I also had some sandals that I wore, but it was good to be able to, when we got done working, we would go to the river in our clothes and just wash ourselves in the river, then put our clothes out on the hot rocks and let it dry there. So we had a daily ritual of going to the river, and that's where we got our drinking water too. So it was
after it was boiled.
After it was boiled, yes.
Right.
But what I liked about Borneo was that we could decide when we were there what we wanted to do. We had some concern that we needed to have all our plans set before we got there, but it wasn't the case. We fortunately were with other people, and one of the people we were with, Rob, he had a travel agent on the island. And so we contacted that travel agent, and he found places that we could go. The place that we saw the sun bears, we then went to a river community where we took a bus to the community and a boat across the river and stayed at a resort. And then from that resort, you would either walk in the daytime or nighttime looking for animals, or you'd take a boat. And we had just an amazing time because the day we got there, a herd of 20 to 40 pygmy elephants showed up. It was so fabulous that we were late in the afternoon, it was getting dark, and he said, look, we might run out of gas. Do you want to go see them anyways? And we said yes. And all we had to do was make a phone call and have another boat come out and give us a can of gas. But it was fabulous. Then after we were at the river, we went to the ocean, and our travel agent picked at this island, Mataking Island, and that was a spectacular exhibit of marine life. Could you tell us a little bit about our snorkeling?
Well, Mataking Island, we took a 2-hour taxi to get there, and then you take a 45-minute boat to get over to this beautiful little tiny island that is surrounded by gorgeous water. And we took a boat to several snorkeling areas, and we'll be showing pictures of the amazing snorkeling. And we really weren't that deep, maybe at most 30 feet, but it was just fabulous. You would have blue clams and blue starfish and so many huge, huge sea turtles. We have a picture of both of us hovering above these huge sea turtles. And it was amazing. You could just hold your breath, go down, look at them, see what was going on, and it was pretty spectacular. And it was just joyous to be not really hooked up with any scuba gear or anything. You're just on your own. And we also learned that people from other countries came, and like Japanese or Chinese, and a lot of them would go out there and they didn't even know how to swim, but would also snorkel holding on to a big life-saving thing. So that was very, very interesting. So in addition to the snorkeling, what else did you really enjoy in Mataking?
Well, we had a little birding trip one morning. It should have started about 6 o'clock in the morning, but it didn't start till around 7, and we knew more about the birds than the man that was taking us around. But he did show us there's a fire tower or a guide tower, and so we got to the top of that and we were able to look around the island itself. And the coral reefs were just very, very beautiful. There was one island that was only connected when the water was low. You had a sandbar that you could walk out. When the water came up, it was completely isolated. So you wanted to make sure you were off that island to get on the resort island when the water was low. We had an amazing time at their spa. They had a wonderful spa where they did a variety of healthful rejuvenation processes. They start with your feet in buckets of herbal water. Then they go and they put salt on you to cleanse the toxins out. Then they put yogurt on top of the salt. And then you go take a shower and go into another tub that's filled with herbal water for 15 minutes. And drink some ginger tea, and then go back for an hour, 10-minute massage, full body massage. It was very wonderful. It cleaned all the rainforest out of us and made us vibrant and vivacious again.
Yes. Well, people have asked me, so you went to Borneo, and when I explained where is Borneo, and they say, well, what is Earthwatch? And Earthwatch has so many different projects. I know some friends of ours that were going to go to Borneo are now thinking about going to Patagonia to study penguins. And then there's also projects in Africa that you can study chimpanzees and follow them around with the scientists. And what was the cost of like our expedition?
Our cost was airfare, but the cost of Earthwatch was $1,850.
For 9 days, that included your food, your lodging, your transportation from the main place that you flew in to getting, well, it took 2 hours after we, on unpaved roads to get to the area where we were.
Yeah, actually, there was a round trip from Kota Kinabalu to the Danum Conservation Area, and then a flight back. But when we were coming in on that 2-hour ride, the driver, who was the British scientist, he saw what's the name of the
orangutan.
The orangutan. He saw a female orangutan in the tree, and it was so fabulous. You'll see a picture of her. She has very long arms, and she had a baby at her breast, and it was wonderful to see the animals in the wild. The elephants were fabulous. Before we saw the elephants, the next day we saw a crocodile, 12 feet long with big barbed tail on him.
And we didn't swim there.
No.
Yes.
But it was wonderful to get back into nature and the wildness of nature and see that they were friendly animals, and there wasn't much of a threat at all. It was very pleasant. The very strange sound we heard was a cicada that it was otherworldly in a sense. We thought it was a bird of some sort.
And we're going to we're going to have you all hear that sound, because it's just the sound of the rainforest, just walking and hearing the various sounds, whether you're at dusk or dawn, it's worth just going. It was really incredible. Yeah.
We had a great time with the people that helped us, because the people that were there, the people from Borneo that weren't the scientists, they would help get information, collect the information with us. They also are amazing. It's not tennis, but it's badminton. They're fabulous badminton players. But it was great to be in their land and be friendly with them. We didn't speak their language, but some of them spoke English, and we got along very well with them.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say if anyone was thinking about going on an Earthwatch trip? What would you tell people?
I'd go online, go to earthwatch.org, I think, or earthwatch.com, and just look at the different projects that are available, see what kind of area of the world you want to go, and step forward and go. It's a fabulous program. You learn at the same time that you're having fun, and because it's work related, and you just find another part of the world that you've never been to or that you have been to, and you see it in a different context.
Right. I know for me it was, it just kind of really expanded my whole mind about what do scientists do. I had never really thought about it, and also to be a place that no matter where you go, you're sweating because you're at the equator, and there is no air conditioning or any relief other than to go into the river, where there were no crocodiles at our river. And so it was really pretty amazing. Would you go again?
I would, yes.
Yes.
I would.
I would too. Well, Dr. Kirk Jones, thank you. I think you and I had a wonderful time.
Truly.
And it's delightful to share this with our viewing public, and we'll let you know about more Earthwatch things. Stay tuned. Thank you.